My name is Premadonna Braddick, and my story is about surviving suicide. It started for me at the tender age of 2 years old. My parents were both heavy drug addicts. My father was in and out of prison, jail. Mom was just an addict. I was placed in the foster care system because my mother abandoned me at the Jack in the Box restaurant. I ended up being in foster care. And then my grandmother, I was told by her that her mother abandoned her and left her with a drunken father, alcoholic father, and she ran away at a young age, didn't know how to read or write, and joined a band, and addiction came with it, and there it is. So I was bounced from one foster home to the next and enduring all type of countless abuse no young child should ever had to experience. Sexual abuse, verbal, emotional, physical abuse, not understanding why this was all happening to me. I finally get to what I thought my forever home. I was 5 years old. And just to hear those crippling words from my foster mother who told me, "You're only here to be a playmate for my daughter." Not able to conceptualize of what she was speaking of. But it began and it continued with the words she telling me that I was stupid, I'll never amount to anything, I'll end up like my mom, who was an addict on welfare, didn't finish high school, you're gonna be just like her, and your dad. Like, I constantly heard that I was stupid. And the reason why she felt the need to say this to me is because I had a severe speech impediment due to the trauma I had endured in the foster care system, and I had a learning disability because of the cocktail of drugs my mother induced when she was pregnant with me. I remember she told me that she had took a lot of drugs that day and I was bouncing and jumping. Honestly, I believe that's when the death of suicide came and entered into my spirit, is in the womb of my mother, because I was fighting for my life, even in her womb. So there it started. I can't remember the first time I tried to attempt suicide. I think I was probably in junior high. Parents didn't know what I was doing. I would take pills. I would write in my journal, "I just don't want to be here. I hate life. I was a mistake. I should have never been born." Let's go back to, I can't even remember the first time I tried to take my life. I know there's several times. I cried through a lot of my pain. I hid it. I didn't want anybody to see the pain I was going through, so I would smile a lot. In junior high, I was the best smile. I think it was something like that. You have the best dress and most likely to succeed. And I got for the best smile because I was always smiling. And needless to say, no one knew I smiled because I didn't want people to really see the emotional pain I was going through. And so for 2 consecutive years, I got for best smile in 7th and 8th grade. Me and Mervyn Shane, we both got for best smile, but people didn't know because I hid it. It's what they call now high functional depression, and it's what I carried. I was very active in everything. I thought if I stayed active, it wouldn't remind me of the rejection I was getting from my foster mother and from my mom, and the pain I was going through internally. And I believe I attempted the first time I was in middle school, and I couldn't. I took pills. Of course, I live because I'm still here. And so then I took it again, some more pills in high school, the foster parent side. And I kind of was just like, oh, I got these too, because I was studying. I need them to study or something. I got some pills. I don't know what it was. And they were kind of concerned. And I hid it. And then my best friend was frustrated with me because she's the only one knew that I wanted to take my life. And I just love my best friend so much, Nicole. Dr. Nicole called me now. But she would get frustrated with me, like, why are you doing this? I didn't have the strength to tell her that I'm tired of being abused. I'm tired of being put down. I'm tired of feeling like I'm nothing. I just can't seem to break away from this depression. And one would say, how come you didn't use drugs like your family did? And for me, I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do it. I guess I had this fight inside of me that I didn't know I had. By 16 years old, I would bury myself in just work. I figured if I just stayed busy, work, I was part of every activity there was, then this depression would finally go away. And it was, which I did. I worked weekends when I was 16, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I was in all types of activities. I was part of dance, I was part of track, I was part of drama. I was always in something. Then my foster mother was like, well, you're trying to stay away from church. I mean, Sounds crazy for her to be so verbally abusive towards me. And she would say, you got to go to church. I mean, that's another story. But she forced me to go to church, and I started going to Center Hope Community Church. I believe it was like 15 some years old, I'm not sure. Under the leadership of Dr. Ernestine Cleveland, who is transitioned and she's no longer with us. But I can honestly say that she was my sanctuary. It was Pentecostal. I didn't know about all this speaking in tongues and all that stuff and praying and fasting. And she saved my life because she just would give me hope every time I would go to church. And again, no one at the church knew that I always had thoughts of suicide. Like I just hid it because I didn't want people thinking I was crazy. It was the last thing. I didn't want people to think I was crazy. I would hide it, but I would still have these feelings of just leaving this world. And I remember people would tell me, girl, you always in church. And I wanted to tell them, listen, I'm trying to save my life. Like, I'm trying to live. Like, y'all have no idea. The struggle is real. Like, church is saving my life. And they didn't know why I would be the first one at the church doors. 16 years old, 15, I was so young. And it's like, you're so young to be this involved in church every day. It was like, how can I take my life? Like, I just can't do this. And my ex-boyfriend at the time, I would just say he was like, more so like a best friend of mine. And he knew the darkness I was going through, and he would just encourage me and hold me and just like, you got this, you can do this, I'm with you. And I always thank him for being there in the darkest times of my life. He was definitely a person that I could say that really was just my anchor. I remember there was a time that depression was so heavy. It was really heavy. And I just had it. I was like, I'm over it. I'm done with this. I was going to commit suicide. I said I planned to commit suicide on my 17th birthday. I wanted to hear my pastor one last time preaching. I just said, I just want to hear her preach. I went on my birthday to hear her preach, and she said, today I have a guest speaker. I'm not going to be speaking today. I have a guest speaker. And I'm like, Serene, for real? Like, you mean I got to get up the next day? I'm up there feeling some type of way, like, sit here and deal with life again. And so the woman comes up and she speaks. She starts talking, and she said, I had a message I was going to preach, but I'm going to preach something else. I feel led by the Holy Spirit to preach this message. And she said, I'm going to talk about how I tried to commit suicide. She was saying, I felt like I couldn't do anything. I felt like there was nothing I could do, right? And she said, I will take pills. And then she said, I wake up the next day and I was like, God, I can't even kill myself, right? But I heard her small voice said, Premadonna, don't. This is not your story. You can't do this. And I want to say thank you. Bottom of my heart, I don't know who you are. I don't remember your name, but you saved a life through your story. I started this thing called Girls Teen Summit, Dreaming with Your Eyes Wide Open. I said, well, I'm going to start this program. And I had my first one in 2012. And then one girl, particularly, I think it was like 2016. And she would call me every single day. About every other day, she'll call me, come pick me up, Miss Premadonna. She's 12 years old at the time. And at the time, I will always ask her questions that I wanted someone to ask me. Do you feel safe? Do you feel like hurting yourself? Is anybody hurting you? Because I just felt like people really didn't see me. And I wanted my teen girls to feel safe no matter what. And she will always tell me, I'm good, Miss Pre, I'm good. Well, I said, okay. Well, I came out with this book, anthology book called Cards of Life, because so many teen girls were just sharing with me of their resilience and how the program has impacted their lives. And I said, hey, won't we do a collaboration and put Cards of Life? And here's the book, Cards of Life, Finding the Winning Hand. Can be purchased on Amazon. But Finding Your Winning Hand. And so I read her story, and she was talking about how she didn't want to exist. And I asked her, I said, baby girl, I was with you the whole time when, and now you're telling me you want to commit suicide. Did I not ask you the right questions? Help me to help other girls. And she said, oh no, Miss Pre, you asked all the right questions. She said, I said I was good because you showed up. If you had not showed up, there would have never been a story. The same way that lady showed up for me at 17 and saved my life. And because I showed up in this precious girl's life, because like this young girl, she didn't talk like I didn't talk. Like no one knew internally what I was going through. But because I showed up when she called, because who's to say she was dealing with those thoughts, and she will call, but she didn't know how to verbalize it. And I will always just be there. She is now showing up at Prairie View University on an academic scholarship, first in her family to go to college. I rewrote my story, and I helped these young ladies in the cards of life. So I remember with my foster mother, I got beat to the pole. She threw me in a tub, threw my head underneath the water and started beating me to a point I passed out. Why did she do this to me? Because I didn't hold the knife and fork right. It would be things like that, things she would do to me. Why? Again, I just didn't feel like I had purpose in this world and to live. She would throw me in the closet. She would slap me. She would punch me. She would hit me. It was just, again, I was always trying to gain approval. I became a people's pleaser. The molestation, just from different men and in different foster homes. People were coming to her home. One guy would take me up to, I guess, his room. I don't know. Just do whatever. And I just was like, what are you doing? And then I remember I was 16. I got in contact with my brother. I was just in a really dark place, connected with my half-brother. I stayed the night over there with him and his girlfriend. And he tried to touch me. And I was angry. Like, your girlfriend is right there in the room. Like, what are you doing? This isn't right. I didn't share my pain and stuff with you for you to cause more pain. And, he apologized and stuff. And I was just confused. And I thought, well, maybe my foster mother was right. Maybe I am going to be a prostitute because these men think they can just try to get it for free. Maybe I should, sell. But again, I didn't go that route because I just had this strong faith in God. That's not where he wants me to be. He doesn't want me to do that. And I just kept going and kept going. And a lot of it, honestly, I have blocked out the trauma. I remember waking up in one foster home. I don't even remember how I got there. I didn't even know. Like, honestly, I don't even remember age 2, 3. I just don't even remember how I got there. And I remember there was a bunch of other kids sleeping in a room. Like, what is this? And because the trauma was so deep, but they say you repressed it. And I repressed a lot of the trauma. Those are just like pretty much the only really painful memories of just being hit and kicked and slapped around by my foster mother and just shouted out. She would shout at me and tell me I was worthless and I was dumb. And because I would hear those words is why I wanted to take my life. Is why I wanted to take my own life. And the question is, well, have you forgiven her? Forgiveness is not for her, it's for me. I didn't want to be this cage burst sequestered in anger and unforgiveness and resentment, but I wanted to open up those cage doors and soar like an eagle with no distress. I wanted to not be shackled to her words. I wanted to be unshackled, and I wanted to fly. And despite of everything she said to me, I wanted to win in life. Do I have support from her now? No. My bio mom? No. I talk to my foster mother here and there, and I will say this, when I did go visit her, she said that she was proud of me. And she said that in front of my best friend, Dr. Coleman. I was like, wow, she's proud of me, but she doesn't call me and my birth mom. She says like a lot of hurtful things to me. And it was to a point I didn't even go to church on Mother's Day. I remember one time I went to church on Mother's Day and I had a full-fledged panic attack. Never had that. And a panic attack. And I'm breathing. I'm just like hyperventilating. My husband's like, you're okay. It's okay. It's fine. He's trying to calm me down. And I said, don't do Mother's Day. And the only reason why I was there because my bishop, Gary McIntosh, was promoting Girls Teen Summit at my church that I attended, Transformation Church. So he was promoting it back then. And that's the only reason why I went, because he's like, I'm going to promote it and da-da-da. And I'm just like, oh, it's on Mother's Day. I don't do Mother's Day. And I tried, and I'm pacing. I'm hearing all these wonderful things about moms and stuff. And then I'm shaking. I'm having these flashbacks of the abuse I've gone through with my foster mother. And then the verbal abuse from my mom, and everything was piling up, and I'm breathing. I'm in a panic attack, and I'm sobbing. My husband was there to console me and comfort me. But I can say this, my pastor, Brenda Todd, I shared my crippling issues, and that I said, Mother's Day's coming up, but I don't do Mother's Day, so I ain't going. I don't want to experience that again. And she said, we're going to pray this off. I said, oh. She said, we're going to pray this off. Anybody know Pastor Brenda Todd, who everybody refers to as Mama Todd? She don't play, so she prayed that off of me. And I was able to go to church for the first time in many years without a panic attack, without anxieties. I was able to do that. And that's my healing. What am I doing now? Also, I am a foster mother myself because my experience was horrible. I said, I'm going to make something wrong right. And so I fostered several kids and loved them. And it's been great to have this role as a foster mother and have adopted. I enjoy this role. And that was just pretty much like I couldn't do anything. And then the beatings came with it. So her thing, she never cursed at me. I would say that. She never cursed at me. But she would just say I was dumb and stupid. Shut up. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. And I would always I would shake when I was around her. I would just shake when I was around her. I remember I had my prom to go to, and she's like, I don't know what you're going to do. I ain't doing nothing for you for your prom. Like, she wouldn't do anything. And I felt like the Cinderella. She had her daughter and she did everything. So I always felt like I always related to Cinderella. And I remember my aunt, whose transition is no longer with us, Aunt Emma. She was like my surrogate mom. She was very upset of how my foster mother would treat me. And because she had adopted 2 kids of her own. And she just felt like this is not how you treat a child that you bring into your home. And she's like, you want to go to your graduate? Do you want to go to your prom? I was like, yeah, it's not helping. She said, don't worry about that. I'll buy everything for you. So she bought all my stuff for me. And then my foster mother came to her and said, I don't know why you bought all that stuff for her. And she asked you to buy all that stuff. You don't need, she will always talk down about me to other people all the time. And so listen, and Emma was like Medea in the household, in the family. Like, you don't come for her. And so she said, Clarice, that was her name. She said, you don't tell me what I need to do with my money. What I do with my money, I do with my money. And if I want to buy her as many items as I want, I will. There was a time, again, I was trying to get the approval. I would come home for college and stay home, stay there at, Swiss Elementary County, getting ready for Miss California. And she kicked me out. She kicked me out. I had nowhere to go. It was no reason. And it was, at that point, I just saw it's like jealousy. Like, every time you try to beat me down, I just kept coming back up fighting. I just kept coming up winning. I just kept winning. And you thought I was going to lose from the words that you said. And I just kept winning. I don't think she could take the fact that I just kept coming back up fighting. And the fact that I won Miss Alameda County and I'm going to Miss California, it's a big thing. The whole Miss America industry thing. I'm part of this now. And she just, looking back when I just think she just got mad that I just kept winning. And so she kicked me out. I had to live with my biological mother in the hood, roaches, and just, it was bad. And I just said, you know what? I will never let anybody put me in a position just to kick me out, and I didn't do anything. So she would do those things and she would continue to speak bad about me and talk bad about me, just growing up. Like, she doesn't do that now. I mean, she's like in her 90s now. But my father since then has passed, who raised me. And he cried at my graduation and he said that he wished he could have done something more. He said at my graduation party that you guys don't understand the hell that Premadonna has gone through. Again, I hid it. I hid all that. And before he died of cancer. He told his sister that he wished he could have protected me more. He was a person that just didn't have a backbone. I mean, hell, she bullied him too. And he didn't stand up to her. So, and she was dealing with her own brokenness. She became an orphan by 8 years old. Her mom died when she was 6, and her mom died when she was 6, and her dad died when she was 8. And my theory is that she was raised by a very cold grandmother, and she just repeated what happened to her. There we go again with the intergenerational trauma. But what she did to me did cause a lot of trauma, and it did question me of my mentality, of my mental state. If I was crazy, because she kept telling me I was dumb and stupid. She kept telling me nobody wanted to hear me speak because I had the speech impediment. So I wouldn't speak. I wouldn't say anything. I was a people's pleaser. And it was nothing but God that I survived through that home. I think, that was the worst beating I received. Like I said, when she put me underneath the tub and beat me till I passed out. I remember I had my foster sister read that, which was her daughter. I wrote about that incident and I had her read it. And, I'm thinking she's going to be protective over her mom. And I was kind of like, okay, what is she going to say? What is she going to say? So she read that part of my story and she said, that's accurate. You don't have anything to say. She said, excuse my French. She said, but you were f***ed up. You got f***ed up really bad. And the reason why I didn't do anything, I thought she was going to do the same thing to me, but I remember everything. What you wrote is what exactly happened. That was such a confirmation because, a lot of times when you tell your truth, you always have that person who have a different narrative to protect them or whatever, because it's her bio mom. She totally solidified. She's like, you got messed up really bad. And I'm sorry. And the reason why I didn't step in and help because I thought she was going to do the same thing to me and what she did to you. Came up with something is that your past trauma is not your life sentence. It's not supposed to come to every stages of our life. It has to come to a point that we have to be in present and we have to heal. You cannot heal what you do not reveal. So it's time for you to reveal what is hurting you.